I've got two projects for you today using the beads from the Softflex Sunset Splendor kit. As I said last week, I was a little concerned about the colours of the beads in this kit because they're so far from my wheelhouse, but I was actually really inspired by them. So I actually made 6 projects from this kit, which is quite a lot. Hello, welcome to The Stylish Maker. My name's Carol. Today I'm going to be making a necklace and a stretch bracelet using some of the beads from the Sunset Splendor kit. Last week I made this necklace, and then on a tutorial with my members I made this bracelet, and I also made these earrings. So today I'm going to use up almost all of the other beads to make these 2 projects. So let's get started. Because I'm making 2 projects today, I've already strung up my beads, but I wanted to show you how I've laid them out and talk to you about why I chose to lay them out this way. First off, these beads here were a very strange shape, and I really wondered what I would do with them. They look like a log that has been pinched this way, turned over and pinched this way. So they are a little bit of a weird shape. The hole goes through the top. So really the only thing I could think of to do with them was to string them on a necklace and have them hanging down like this. So that was the basis for this necklace. I could have put just the pink ones between, but that was kind of boring. So I alternated the pink and the red. And this left me with an interesting dilemma because I've got a red one here and a pink one here. So which one did I go with on the other side? So I decided to just run with it. I decided that each side of my necklace would be different. This one would have a pink bead and this one would have a red bead and vice versa, so all the way up. Now you'll notice when I got up to about 15 centimeters, so these are centimeters on my board here, I changed tack completely. Now there was a very simple reason that I did that. I ran out of beads, but it's a very good technique for you as well. Nobody really sees the back of your neck, so what I tend to do is use a cheaper bead or a smaller bead at the back so that it kind of disappears. So that's what I did here. I chose these pink beads. Some of them are darker, some of them are lighter, but I didn't think it mattered. I think it looks really good, and I alternated those with the gold beads. I've strung these beads onto a piece of 0.38mm tiger tail. If you don't know what tiger tail is, it's a very strong beading wire. It's made up from 7 strands of stainless steel, which is twisted, and it is wound together and coated with a nylon coating. So your beads slip nicely on it and it's not hard on your skin, but it is very strong. The other things I have on my board are a 12mm lobster clasp. I've got 2 crimp tubes. These are a 2mm crimp tube that came with the kit. I'm going to be using my magical crimping plier, but I'm not using magical crimps. I've got a 4mm jump ring and a 6mm jump ring. So before I do anything else, I'm going to attach the clasp to the 4mm jump ring. So I'm just going to move this over to the side for a minute, take my jump ring and my clasp, and I'm going to open my jump ring. So I've got 2 pairs of chain nose pliers here, just looking for the split in the top of the jump ring, and you want that to be at the top. And now I'm going to hold my jump ring on either side and twist one hand down. And what that does is it opens my jump ring correctly so that it keeps its shape, feeding on my clasp and closing that up just by reversing that process. I've got a whole video on jump rings, so if you don't know what they are or how they work, I will leave that linked below for you. There is my clasp with its jump ring attached. I'm also going to take my 6mm jump ring, and I want to make sure that this one is really well closed as well. Before I crimp my necklace, I want to make sure that I've got all the beads on in the right place. Pull everything down and I hold it where the beads come together at the top. So I'm holding the tiger tail nice and tight there. Pull the center bead, and that gives me the opportunity to check that everything is lining up. So in my case, obviously the beads are different on either side, but I want to make sure that they're different on either side and just double check that everything is right, which it is. So now I can go ahead and crimp it. Now I do have a bead stopper on here. If you haven't seen this before, it's a little spring and you squeeze it and you put your wire in and it stops everything from moving. I want to make sure I've got enough room on this end to work with when I get to that end as well. The first thing I'm going to do is take a crimp tube. I'm going to feed that on. And I forgot to mention I'll be using 2 wire guardians as well. So my wire guardian is shaped like a horseshoe, and you feed your wire up one side. It's got a little tube on one side. Then you go back down through the tube on the other side, so that your wire sits nicely in this channel at the top. Now I'm going to put on my clasp, or the 4mm jump ring I attached to my clasp. And that's going to go and sit all the way at the top of that wire guardian. So a wire guardian will stop the wire from rubbing on the jump ring, and therefore it helps with the wear and tear. It also looks nicer. It's also useful to stop your wire falling out of your jump ring if you haven't quite closed it properly. Now I like to give mine a little squeeze, just so they're a little bit closer together. Just helps me to crimp easier. Now I'm going to put my tail back down through my crimp tube and pull everything up nice and close to the wire guardian like that. Next, I'm going to take my magical crimping plier. If you haven't seen one of these before, I've got a video all about how to use them. I'll leave that link below. Basically, what they do is make your crimp tube look like a nice little round bead, very similar to the ones that I've used. So I put it in the little divot at the front there, and I'm going to give it a squeeze that way, and then I'm going to turn it around and give it a squeeze that way. And I might need to do that several times to get my crimp tube looking like a little round bead. People always say to me they have problems with their magical crimper, and the reason they have problems is they give up too soon. I want to test it and make sure it's nice and tight, and there you have it, and you can see it just looks like one of the beads. So now I'm going to pull up a couple of my beads, and I'm going to thread my tail through those beads. I like to do this so that the tail is kind of tucked away from the clasp. Other people don't like to do it, but it's the way I do it. And then what I do is fold over my long piece and I trim off my short piece. If you fold it over, it allows you to get in there nice and close. Now I'm going to run up my beads all the way, just making sure that tail is still tucked in. I'm going to remove my bead stopper now, and I'm going to basically repeat the same thing for this end. So putting on my crimp tube first, then I'm going to put on my wire guardian, up through one side, back down through the next side. Then I'm going to put on my jump ring. And you want your jump ring to sit at the top there. Just like that. Now, as you can see, I'm miles away from my beads, but I'm going to go back down through my crimp tube here and through a couple of my beads. Now I'm going to pull everything, holding my jump ring. And sometimes that doesn't work. You can see it's stuck. So what I'm going to do is pull my crimp tube down and just pull everything. And you'll have to do this a few times. If it gets stuck in the wire guardian, which mine is, what you can do is pull it up at the top there. Sometimes it does that. So pull your wire guardian down and then pull it down. There we go. Now you want to make sure that your necklace is not too tight. You want it to still be able to move, but you want to make sure you've got no gaps as well. So I'm just going to hold my jump ring and give everything a little bit more of a pull. I can see there's a little gap there. So just moving everything down and giving it a pull. That feels good. Now I'm going to just give my little wire guardian just a gentle squeeze, just so that it's a little bit closer. Now taking my crimping pliers, and I'm going to crimp that one. Squash, quarter turn, squash again, quarter turn, squash again, and carry on until you get it right. Test it. I am going to bend my necklace over like this, pull my end out, and get right in there with my cutters. And there is my necklace, the clasp. And here's my necklace on. It's quite cute actually. I think it looks really good. It could have been a little bit shorter, but I wear a lot of turtlenecks, and so for me this is a good length. So let's go ahead and make a stretch bracelet for you now as well. I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so that you won't ever miss a video. And also, if you're enjoying this one, please give me the thumbs up. This stretch bracelet is going to be super simple. It's going to be so quick to make and it's going to be very elegant. Now, normally I would use this cord here, which is a 0.6mm elastic cord. And I really like this one because it's really super strong. It's not as stretchy as some of the others, but it is really strong. This one I'm using today instead is hot pink so that you can see what I'm doing. So I've already cut a piece of my elastic and it measures about 70 centimeters. So what I'm going to do is fold it in half so that I've got two ends at one end and a loop at the other. And I'm going to give it a good stretch. And I need to do this so that when you wear it, it doesn't stretch out and you get gaps between your beads. So just working your way along and giving it a good stretch and then work your way back. It will also help with breakage. Now I'm going to take my bead stopper and I'm going to put it on the end with the loop. So I've got my bead stopper and the loop is here. Next I'm going to take my ends and I'm going to thread it through my big eye needle. Now if you haven't seen one of these before, they're fantastic. Basically the hole runs from there to there. So it makes it nice and easy for you to thread on your elastic. You can open it up really wide. So I'm going to put both ends of my elastic through my big eye needle. Super easy. Now I've got my beads here from my kit and these measure about 1 centimeter, I think. And I've got a 3mm gold ball like I used in the necklace. Starting with one of these beads, I'm going to thread that on and then I'm going to alternate with a gold ball. Now my wrist measures 16.5 centimeters. So I aim for my bracelets, my stretch bracelets, to be about 17 centimeters, just so they're not too tight. So I'm going to string these beads alternating, one brown and one gold, until I have reached my 17 centimeters long. If you would like to see the tutorial for the necklace I was wearing at the beginning of this video, then I'll leave you a link in the description box for that tutorial. And these earrings I made as extra content for my members, and if you would like to check that out, I'll leave you a link in the description box for a 7-day free trial. That way you can go ahead and check it out and see if it's for you, and if not, you can cancel within the week. I've finished stringing my beads, but I have a slight design dilemma. You'll see here that my bracelet is actually almost 18 centimeters long. So I said I wanted my bracelet to be 17 centimeters long. Now I want to start with a gold bead and I want to finish with a brown bead. So if I was to remove two of these beads, just moving those out of the way for a minute, then my bracelet would only measure 16.5 centimeters, and I think it would be too tight. So the answer to the question is, should I make it smaller or larger, is always make it slightly larger. And the reason for that is it's very, very uncomfortable to wear a stretch bracelet that is too tight. It will leave marks on your wrist and it will be really uncomfortable. So always err on the side of too big rather than too small. Okay, so I'm going to show you now how to tie it. And this is a special knot, and I'm actually going to link you a video all about this special knot as well, just because I go into it in more detail in that video, but I'm going to show you today anyway. So I'm going to take my bead stopper off and I'm going to take my needle off. Now I've got my fingers here inside the loop and I want to take the two ends from the other end and put them through the loop like this. Now I'm going to pull everything up and move all of my beads right up close to the loop. Pull it tight. You don't want to break it, but you don't want any gaps either. So that's what I have now, and you can see my loop is hooked over these two ends. Next, we're going to split the ends, and I'm going to go with my left hand, I'm going to put the end through the center of the bracelet and just pull it through so that it goes between those beads. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my right hand, put it through the center of the bracelet and I want to make sure that that thread is lying in the same place. So it's not going over any of the beads, it's actually lying right there. Now I'm going to tie a knot. Now I'm going to repeat. So left hand through the center of the bracelet, right hand through the center of the bracelet, and tie a knot. One more time. Through the center, through the center. This time we're going to tie 2 knots. Now this is what my knot looks like now. And you can see it kind of lies down along the length of the elastic. Now I'm just going to take some scissors and trim off the ends. Nice and close. Making sure you don't cut the knot, of course. That is what my knot looks like now. And I'm going to work it inside one of the beads. It could take me a minute to do that. Now it's completely disappeared. So let's see if it fits. I should have checked first before I did the knot, but that's a pretty good fit on me. If you're interested in making the bracelet, I made that with my jewel box group as well. Quite like them together actually. I hope you enjoyed these 2 tutorials using the beads from the Sunset Splendor kit. I've used up almost all the beads, which is really unusual for me for these types of kits. Remember to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell if you've enjoyed this one, and also give me that thumbs up please. Remember also to check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you again soon.